Hi, I'm Anatole, and this is my reaction video to The Crown, Season 1, Episode 1, titled Wolferton Splash. Before I begin viewing the episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about my background and how much I know about this period of British history. And I want to kind of take a little bit of a digression and first mention that about 3 years ago, a friend of mine took a job working in England, and that occasion it gave me the moment to think about, how well do I really know English history? And the answer I found was not very well. So I made an effort to begin studying about English history. And over the past 3 years, I've read a couple books about English history. I've listened to a radio program and watched a couple documentaries on Netflix. And some of that was older British history. So I read a book about the War of the Roses and one about the Plantagenets. And then some of it was related directly to the Windsor family. So there was a radio program about the life of Queen Elizabeth. And then two documentaries available on Netflix, and that's the reason why I've got this menu screen up. The Royal House of Windsor and the Story of Diana. So come in, and I'm currently in the middle of watching a great lectures series about English history. So I'm not completely ignorant. However, if you were to give me a quiz about British history, I fear I would do quite poorly. So I think I know enough that I won't be completely clueless, and I hopefully will pick things up pretty quickly. But if you were to ask me direct questions, I would probably fail. I wanted to do this series. I've been thinking about doing this for a while, and I thought that the wisest way to do this would be to have me and then an English person. So the English person could give context and you wouldn't just have stupid American comments. However, for those who don't know, I live in Vietnam. And so the pool of available people who could do this with me that I know, my circle of English friends is somewhat small. And I broached this subject with them, hoping to find someone who was excited about the topic, and then I could give them the proposition of doing a reaction video to The Crown. Surprisingly, it got a less than enthusiastic response. And in fact, I got the impression I knew as much about the royal family as maybe the average the history of the Windsor family, as the average British person. I think if their life depended upon it, they would know the subject more. But if they don't have to sweat out answering trivia questions about the Windsor family, then it appears to me they would do no better than I would, because it's still fresh in my mind. The comment that one of my coworkers who's British told me, and this is not a direct quote, but it's pretty close, was that the average British person couldn't give a toss about the royal family. So why would they be bothered to learn the history? And I can't say I blame them. And now, in regards to this program, I have the creator of the show, the director, did the movie The Queen, which also has Michael Sheen in it, and I've seen The Queen, and I feel like, because Michael Sheen has been Tony Blair 3 times, and I feel like I've seen him do Tony Blair twice. And apparently the 3rd season that is coming from when I record this in 1 month, is going to cover around the time of Margaret Thatcher. I would not be shocked if at some point Michael Sheen appears as Tony Blair again. He's still close enough in age to Tony Blair that he could do it. I would not be surprised if he made an appearance in this series at some point. Anyway, hopefully, fingers crossed, this doesn't suck and I like it, because I would like to do more episodes depending upon my enjoyment and the reception I get on YouTube. So, without any more introductory material, join me after the introduction, which is more introductory material. I lied. And then I will give my reaction to Season 1, Episode 1 of The Crown, titled Wolferton Splash. Alright, so here we are, Buckingham Palace, 1947. Are we going to go back in time? Because World War II is quite important to the Windsor family. I have a feeling we're going to go back in time. I could be wrong about this. Already I like the set design, the look of the show. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're going to start right here. It's Jared Harris. A month ago, I did a series of reaction videos to Chernobyl, and since then, everything I do somehow connects to Chernobyl. Either it has Chernobyl, or there's nuclear power in the plot of the show, or some actor from that series is in the show. But he's gone. I don't think we're going to see much of him. Smoking is bad for your health.
Are you sure you wouldn't?
See how there's smoke in the air? I really hate that. They do that to make the light filter through. They'll use dry ice or a smoke machine. But it's one of those things that once you know how they make films, you begin to notice it everywhere, and then you notice how much it's used. And so it bothers me. Cigarette breath. Okay, I'm back. So the previous footage contained a lot of ignorant, stupid statements from me, dumb American. I'm not sure how many of them I'll leave in, but I just kind of got confused about the chronology. So what I missed out, and that's why I paused, because I had a feeling I was going off track, was we just saw the marriage between Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. And so that was not the scene of Edward renouncing the crown. Wait, not Edward. Ugh, British history! That was not the scene of Edward giving up the crown because of his relationship to Wallace, the American, Wallace Simpson. But instead it was George presiding over the wedding of Philip to Elizabeth. And Philip gave up his titles for the countries that were mentioned. I forget what they were, because he's become the husband of Elizabeth. All right, I'm on it. So again, like I said, I know a little bit, but not enough to really be on top of it. So I'm going to make mistakes like that. I apologize, but I will make an effort to keep up. I'll stop if I have to and get correct. So now that I've done that, let's continue. Yeah, so as we're watching the credits, it now occurs to me that my comment that we probably wouldn't see much of Jared Harris is incorrect. In fact, we're probably going to see quite a bit of Jared Harris, which is good. He's a really good actor. John Lithgow. John Lithgow. What is John Lithgow? That's right. I remember hearing John Lithgow's in this. I wonder what he plays. Oh, there he is. There's my guy, Jared.
A lot of blood in my spittle yesterday morning.
Yeah, never a good sign when you're spitting up blood. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Just specks.
No. You should be worried.
It's probably just a
No. You're spitting up blood. That's terrible.
Cold weather.
No. Don't listen to him.
The carriage will be cold too, Peter.
Don't listen to him, sir.
Young lady.
There's a nice lighting. Nothing like a good dirty limerick to brighten the mood.
And?
Light it up.
Do you think it odd?
That was a nice scene. Of course, it gives the information that the yes men around him are going to deny the truth, but it also showed that he can relate. He can relate to the servants around him, and he's not afraid to make himself look a little silly to do it. Oh, there he is. Okay, so what does John Lithgow play? Winston Churchill. Really? John Lithgow plays Winston Churchill. That's a surprise. Smoke. I'm getting kind of the feeling of the old the old guard being replaced because they're making a big scene about Winston and his entrance, and you have other people commenting on him coming in. So it definitely feels like they're going to play up this theme of the old being replaced by the new. Queen Elizabeth also representing the new guard. She looks really good. How much did they have to spend for the budget for this scene, I wonder? Seems like it would have been one of the most expensive scenes in the season to film, I'm just guessing. I don't know if there will be any battle scenes. Let's see, has she already traveled to Africa? That's coming up, right? That might be expensive, her traveling to Africa, those scenes.
To heaven to hold.
From this day
Oh, she's really good in that moment.
From this day forward.
for better, for worse,
I like how long that take was, too.
for richer, for poorer.
To love and cherish and
Well, that's a really nice moment. You can tell it's more important to him than it is to her. So is he the batsman? I'm not sure what you call the attendant to the king. I gotta be honest, this is a little hard because the cast is so large and it's British history, which I'm only a little familiar with. It's kind of tough to keep up with all the characters. And now this is where we recover some of the budget. We're giving smaller scenes, antechambers, bedrooms. So much for reducing the budget in the following scenes. Alright, well, let's go inside. It's cheaper to film inside. Smoke! Alright, that phone call is going to be important, that's my guess. They wouldn't just interrupt the scene with a random phone call unless it was not going to be important to the plot. George is sick, right? George is sick. Sure looks like he's sick. Yeah. So Queen Mary and Clemmy, I think, are the two older women. I think Queen Mary's the one we keep seeing again and again. So I think that's Queen Mary. Did they know cigarettes caused lung cancer back in their late 40s? Jeez, what'd they take out? Take out a lung? Oh yeah, let's wrap that up. Send that down to the butchers. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. If they took out, let's say, a liver, then, and we're talking about lung cancer, that means the cancer spread, and they cut off the bark when they should have cut at the roots. Wow, I wonder how John Lithgow got the part of Winston Churchill. That's so casting against type. Smoke!
Have a look at his woman.
Bypass?
Businessman.
Heart bypass?
No vulnerability.
And so that's the mindset that has the royal entourage hiding and obscuring his health, the condition of his health.
One lung would feel like.
So they did remove a lung. Yeah.
Turns out there's barely any difference.
Good. Good.
I don't know. To me, it looks like a man who's trying to hide how sick he is.
Probably wise to let the Princess Elizabeth undertake the Commonwealth tour.
There he is, tour to Africa.
The distant future.
Well, there's the idea of the new generation taking over for the old, which I think he's resisting.
This is Venetia Scott, sir.
A new edition. A good one, I'd say. Thank you, sir.
Oh, that was sexist.
I had hoped I was... And the
There's
day
all
after
this
that,
denial and dissimulation around the
was
king.
led by someone strong.
Who is this guy? I've got IMDb list of actors and characters. I can't seem to find him.
He has also...
Ah, Peter Townsend. Okay.
Well, as a wife, I know what my answer would be. I'd want my husband at home at Christmas with his children.
This is good. The fact that they're They're thinking about the welfare of the people that work under them, that are their servants.
Look between the two of you.
Ah, so it wasn't just being generous.
Great.
We removed it. We did.
Metastasized,
We removed significant blockages.
aka tumors, unfortunately. So he's learning he's a dead man.
So what's next? Next.
Ah, he doesn't. I don't think he gets it.
argued that His Majesty should be told at the time. Patient has a right to know the full picture.
He doesn't get it. Someone's not
But
getting
was
it.
overruled. The theory was that
Nor anyone else in my family.
no, sir.
Is he going to tell the family? All these extras had to be dressed just to appear on screen for a few seconds. That's a man who thinks it might be his last Christmas on Earth. Is she getting it? Are they getting it? I like the subtext, the way the writing has given these actors a chance to play more than just the words.
Well, if you think we're up to it,
I like how he says his health is improving and then
where is
kind of
it?
has to hold back a cough.
Well, she is the job. She is the essence of your duty. Loving her. Protecting her.
Wow, that was a good moment.
Or she'll miss your career.
Focus is off on that shot. I hate to say it, but it was getting the front of his jacket, not his eyes. I bet that's going to be the last scene we see of King George in his prime. Not even his prime, but at least with enough energy to go out and about. Yep. Okay. Well, there we are. So that's the end of the episode. Come back in a few seconds, and then I will give you my review. I will watch the episode again and read some criticism, and then come back with my thoughts about episode 1 of The Crown. Hi, and welcome back. I have now watched the episode of The Crown 3 times total, and I've watched a criticism of the episode on YouTube and read one on Vulture. So my thoughts on the episode, first thing I want to talk about, the reviews that I read of the episode were written by women, and they made an interesting point, one I would not have caught on my own, and that is that a show that will principally have Queen Elizabeth as the protagonist of the series, at least for the first episode, it is written by 2 men and directed by a man. And I thought, well, maybe pointing that out is just a little bit unfair. Perhaps there are 10 episodes in the season. Perhaps there will be some women directors and women writers that contribute to the series. So just before pressing record, I looked over the directing credits and writing credits for the season, and there are no women involved in either the directing position or writing position for season 1. So that might be a fair criticism, that a show that has Queen Elizabeth as one of the principal figures of the series will only be seen through the viewpoint of men. And we also see that perspective in the first episode, that even though Elizabeth is going to be the principal figure of the series because she will be inhabiting the crown, we see her on the sidelines. We see her through the prism of her father, her husband, and what will be her co-equal, we'll call co-equal for the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill. But we don't see a lot of her motivations. And while I can see the criticism that having her be so sidelined in the initial episode, I can see the point of that. I do feel that if there is growth within the series and that the character of Elizabeth begins to become more prominent, then that criticism should lose some of its cutting edge. Because if they're setting up her characters intentionally as being weak and to the sideline, only to emphasize that later on in the series she becomes much stronger and more central to the action, then that strategy, that decision by the creatives will make more sense, I think, and will seem to be less of a gender bias. So that is my take on the criticism of the placement of Elizabeth within the series. Now, just my overall thoughts on the series, that it's a very gorgeous show. I do like the writing. I think that the writing is good because it creates a lot of subtext for the actors. And anytime you can give more to the actors, you are creating that space for the actors to give more for the screen. And when you create subtext, you're leaving it up to the actor to deliver the extra emotional punch rather than putting it on the page. So you give the actor the chance to interpret that scene in their own way. So you're giving higher ceiling for their acting talent. And then finally, the last thing I want to mention in this brief review of episode 1 is what was my take as an American viewer? Do I think this show is accessible? I think it is accessible, but it's going to be a little difficult because I'm someone who had made the effort before coming to the show to learn some of the history, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to leave in of the opening 5 minutes, but I got really lost. And I'm someone who is at least somewhat familiar with the history, so the viewpoint of someone who has not followed British history, hasn't studied it, I can see this show being a little bit opaque. That's where I think the production values and the quality of the show will draw a lot of people into it that maybe would be put off by it. But I could definitely see for just an average American viewer, this material would be a little bit hard. And so that's my thoughts. Please let me know what your take is on the writing of Elizabeth at this point. She's not queen in this initial episode. Do you agree with that criticism that she could have had a larger role, even if her standing within that world of the British monarchy is to be on the sideline? Do you think her character should have been given more prominence within this initial episode? Or do you agree with the take on seeing her through the prism of these other people, at least in the initial episode? I'm curious. And please don't spoil it. Even though this series is based on history is set, we all know how the history turns out. I still would like to be surprised because sometimes history can be interpreted in ways that are surprising, especially where you put emphasis and how you edit things together. So if you have seen the series, please don't spoil future episodes for me. I would appreciate that. Okay, I hope you'll join me again on my channel, and in the meantime, take care and be well. Goodbye.